Bienvenidos, Ushamdi, and welcome Anne Arundel Community College learners from the Spring 2023 semester taking the CTS-233 Network Programmability course. This is the Cisco Networking Academy's DEVASC 200-901 certification exam preparation course, and in this supplemental video tutorial, we're going to be taking a whirlwind tour from making commits with Git on our DevASC virtual machine to pushing those to GitHub to creating Jenkins freestyle jobs. And the beauty is we're going to be doing this with a private GitHub repository that I have created, and we're going to be using Jenkins to create a number of different jobs. And the final twist is that we're doing all of this on a Jenkins installation that is in the Amazon cloud. So this is an Ubuntu EC2 instance that I have running in a Kubernetes cluster that I have in Amazon's cloud. So let's go ahead and dive in and tackle what we're going to do here. So I want to replicate what we would be doing if we were making changes to our sample app code and we wanted to push those changes up to GitHub and then run different Jenkins jobs. So here I am. And again, you could do this. You don't have to be on the DevASC virtual machine to do this, but this is where we have our GitHub repo. And you'll see here we've got the .git hidden directory. So let's go ahead and vi 001. Now, I prefaced the name of the file with 001 because we're going to be creating multiple jobs, and it'll be easier to track with this numeric system here. So if I was to pull this file up, you can see, what does the file do at the very top? Well, it's got a variable here. This is a bash shell script, and it's checking to see if the build app job -001 directory exists. If it does, it's just going to remove it. Other than that, everything in here is going to be the same as what we were previously working on. Now, take a look at this. We're exposing port 6060. Well, we don't want to do that. We're going to change this to 5050. And so once we change it to 5050, we can go now and find all other instances of 6060 and then simply change those to 5050 as well. And so we'll come over here and we'll change that to 5050. So now that we've done that in our build script, where else was that information with that port number? Well, was it in our Python file? So let's vi sample-app.py. And sure enough, you can see here we are exposing port 6060. Well, let's go ahead and change this. I can go ahead and say CW to change word. We'll say 5050. And this was the original port that everything was running on. Now, remember, we're going to clear the screen here. Remember that we are tracking all of these changes in GitHub. So if I say git status, you can see we've got 2 changes. So let's add all of the files in the current working directory here from the working directory into the staging area. And then I'm going to say git status again to make sure that they're there. And then we're just simply going to say git commit -m, and let's go ahead and say using port number 5050. And that's going to be our commit comment. So I've made changes to the 2 files that are going to be critical here that we're going to push up to our GitHub repo. Now, the 2 changes were simply making it so that this app is going to run on port 5050. So let's go ahead and do that right now by saying git push origin, and then that main branch. We're going to put our username in here. And this is pushing these 2 files and any other changes that I may have moved from the staging area and committed earlier to the GitHub repo. I'm going to paste in what I hope is going to be my GitHub personal access token, that PAT that we had to create. So you can see here that if I say git status, everything looks fantastic. So there we go. Everything's clean. Let's take a look at our GitHub repo. If I come over here, here's the repo. You can see that some work has been done, but let's refresh because we should see some changes here. You can see that the 001 sample-app.sh was updated a minute ago or committed a minute ago. And then we've got the sample-app.py. So now let's put a twist on this. If I'm using the numbering scheme here, 001, for what I want to do on port 5050, would it make sense to maybe change the sample-app.py. Now, we could do that, and if I did, I would just simply have to re-add the new 001 sample-app.py file from the working directory to the staging area, and then commit that, and it would show up here, and we would have to make some additional changes, but we're going to leave it here. It'll be the sample bash script that we're going to be using this numeric identifier on. All right, so now that these changes have taken place, what did we want to do next? Well, here's where we go to Jenkins. Now, my Jenkins installation is running on a node I have in a Kubernetes cluster in AWS. It's just an Ubuntu 20.04 installation. And I've already set it, it's already been set up. It's already had the recommended extensions added in. And so I actually created a username here. In the lab, they didn't have us do that. They had us using that really long and difficult string to not only keep track of, but to copy and paste and put in every time we wanted to get into Jenkins. So here you can create a user, which is what I've done. Just simply admin with my password. I'm going to say, keep me signed in, and we're going to click sign in. You're going to notice that it looks a little bit different as well. And this is because we've got more real estate here. I don't have it blown up inside of a virtual machine to where it's kind of like we're clicking on things and we don't see things happening like we should. And so what are we going to do? Well, let's burn through building a freestyle job. I'm going to click on new item. We're going to call this build app job 01. It's a freestyle project. I'm going to click OK. So the description right here, we're going to say build app, let's see, we'll just call it build app job -001. Now, we're not going to discard old builds. We're not going to do anything right here, but we are going to come down to our source code management. Now, remember, my source code management is Git, and I'm pushing it up to a GitHub repo. Remember, Git is not GitHub. They are mutually exclusive products. So here I want to type in my GitHub repo, https github.com/travis_p_bonfigli/sample-app.get. Remember, that is the name of the GitHub repo, and that little .get is critical because that is saying that is my GitHub repo. So we need that. Now, you'll notice, and as soon as I click out of there, yeah, we get the failed to connect because we haven't provided our personal access token. Remember, it's not a password, it's a personal access token that we're using. So I've already added it here so that we don't have to wait for that. I click on that and the error goes away immediately. And this is running much quicker than the virtual machine. You'll notice that probably right out of the gate. So branches to build. Well, we're interested in the main branch. That is how you would identify that. Build triggers. We don't need any triggers. Let's add some timestamps, right? Why not? Now, build steps. This is going to be referring to that bash shell script that we ran earlier, that we edited earlier. And I'm going to say bash / and we're going to do 001-sample-app.sh. And let me confirm that just to make sure we don't have any mistakes here. So ls-l. And yeah, 001.sample-app.sh. I'm looking here on the virtual machine. If I look in my GitHub repo, I should see that file in the GitHub repo, because that is the file that Jenkins is being told, hey, we're gonna run this freestyle job. This is what you are doing for that freestyle job, because it is in that shell script that we tell the bash shell, hey, you're going to create these directories. You're going to copy and basically duplicate a lot of these directories in which we have the templates and the CSS file so that we can fire up this Docker app. And it also has the Docker run commands in there as well. So that's it. That's all we need. We're going to click save and let's go ahead and build now. And you'll notice that it looks a lot different here in terms of, we've got, like I said, more real estate, easy to see. So we click on build now. And again, I'm using a private repo. We've got the personal access token has been added in, and take a look at that. Success. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our build history here, or I should say the build that we just did. We can take a look at the console output and take a look. Here are all of the steps and everything that's being done. And most importantly, you can see right down here, finished success. And that is exactly what we're looking for. Now, remember, we're not doing this on the DEVASC virtual machine. This build did not take place on the DEVASC virtual machine. It is on this node right here in my Kubernetes cluster that's running in the Amazon cloud. So let's get on to the CLI for that box. And here we are, right? It's just an Ubuntu node. It's my Kubernetes control node. And this is where the jobs are actually going to live that we're going to be creating. So you can see /var/lib/Jenkins/workspace. So if I say ls-l, there you have it right there. So we've got a directory that was created. Remember, this directory is created as part of the script that is running so that we can, if I cd into build app job 01 and type ls, there is all of our code, right? Here is my Python Flask web app code. I've got my bash shell wrapper script. I've got the sample-app.sh that also came along with it because, again, it's pulling it from the repo. There's our static and templates directory, right, with our index.html and our CSS file. And there's the temp dir that ends up getting created when that job runs. So we've got everything in here that we need. Now, this Jenkins file, you can ignore that. This is going to be for a lab we're going to do a little bit later on where we're going to take a look at creating a pipeline as opposed to the freestyle job we're doing right now. So on this node, I should be able to say sudo, and remember, or sudo docker ps, and this should show me the containers that are running. And here it is. You can see about 8 minutes ago, we fired this container up, and there is the little alias that we can refer to the container name with, sample running. But we're going to leave this up. We're going to leave it running on 50/50 because now the question is, okay, so you've got this running on a box that's accessible from the internet, so can we test that? We certainly can. I've got a new tab right here, and all we're going to have to do here is come in and say http://44.197.204.20. Now, I'm going to leave this running on ports 5050, 6060, and 7070 so that if you hit that address right there, 44.197.204.20 5050, 6060, or 7070, by the time we get done anyway, we'll have 3 instances of this container running, all running on different port numbers so that when you hit enter, it's going to give you the public IP that it thinks you're coming from. And this is in fact 100% accurate right here. That is my Verizon Fios public IP. Okay, so again, this is kind of like, all right, so we've done that. We tested it. Hey, this works great. You know what? I don't want to run it on port 5050. I want to do it on port 6060. How would we do that and leave this running? Well, let's just come back into our DEVASC virtual machine where we have all of our source code that we're using and controlling with the Git version control system. And let's go ahead and say, all right, well, I'm going to do this instead. Let's go ahead and copy 001 sample app to 002-sample-app.sh. And let's VI 002. And what will we have to change? Well, again, this is just checking if you were to rerun the job, if that directory was there. So I'll just change that to a 2 because that's the build app job number we're going to use. And then search for 5050 in this file. So there it is there. So let's change it to 6060 and let's search again, change it to 6060, search again, change it to 6060. So it was 3 times here that 5050 changed to 6060. And again, think of it like we're creating a new app. Again, I'm going to keep the sample_app.py file the same for now. Again, you could increment it with numbers, but we're going to leave it the same because down here, let's change this to 6060. All right, so what about my Git status? How do I get this up to GitHub? Well, you can see we've got this new file that's not even being tracked. So let's say git add, we'll add everything in. We'll say git status, and there we go. So both of those files, the new 002 file and the modified sample_app.py file, those are now in my Git staging area. So how do we commit, or I should say, how do we commit those? Well, we can save ourselves a little bit of time here. And I thought we could save ourselves a little bit of time. There we go. And we'll say we're just changing the port to 6060. And we'll hit enter. We'll do that git status command real quick. You can see that everything looks good. Let's do our git push and get everything up to our GitHub repo. And we'll put in our username. And what I hope is still in the cache here. We're going to find out in a second. And it is not, so that's okay. I've got it readily available right over here in this file. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy that key and we'll fly back over here and we'll say git push origin master, Travis P BONFIGLI, and then we will paste in what should be the code, and there we go. So we've pushed all of that up to our GitHub repo. How can I confirm that? Well, let's drop over here to the GitHub repo. You can see we've got like 18 minutes ago, but we should see some more recent things. So there it is. There's my new sample-app wrapper bash shell script, and the sample_app.py has been changed a minute ago. So we're seeing different ways that we could approach this, right? All right, well, what do I need to do in Jenkins? Well, let's come back into Jenkins. Let's go to the dashboard. Let's click on New Item. We'll go ahead and click 002 as our freestyle project. We'll click OK. What needs to change in here? Well, not much. We'll just say build app, build app job -002. Again, we're going to get it out of the GitHub repo, the same repo we've been using. So github.com/ my username, BONFIGLI / sample, SAMPLE -app.get. And then down here, we're going to pick the same credentials because we know those credentials work, and we know that they work because that error message disappears. Everything else looks good. We'll come down here and we'll say, sure, add timestamps to the console output so we can get some more detailed logging information. We're going to execute a shell script, and this is going to be that bash wrapper that we created. So we're going to say bash / and it's 002 sample-app.sh. We're going to click on save, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to build now. So then right down here, we're going to see that, look at that, boom, build status looks good. So let's click on it. Let's go to the console output. Again, we've added timestamps for a little more verbose output. Everything looks great. Success. And here it says it's running on 5050, but that should not be the port that we are running on. And did I click on the right job? So let's dig in here and see what may have gone wrong. Let's click on configure. So this is definitely build app job 002. It should be pointing to bash 002 sample.sh. That looks good. Let's save that. Let's check the GitHub repo and see 002-sample-app.sh. It should be using port 6060. And that's what it says here. So let's figure out what might be the problem. If I go back to the repo and we click on the Python file, did the change take? It did, so we should be running on 6060, but that build job, for whatever reason, didn't do that. So let's see what's going on. Let's click refresh here. Let's look at build app build app job -002. Let's build it again. Let's take a look at the console output here, and let's see if maybe something was cached. And no, it looks like, daemon conflict, because we have the same container name. So what would we want to do? Well, we would want to kick it off with a different container name. So fortuitous failure, right? We've got this jammed in here. We forgot, oh, that's right, we created an alias for the container. We can't do that. We can't have the same alias running on two individual containers. So how do we fix that? All right, let's drop on back to our DEVASC virtual machine. Where does that alias get created? Well, let's vi002 sample-app.sh, and here it is right here. So what do we do? Let's go ahead and say sample running -002. So again, if we save this, what do we have to do? Git status. Yep, it needs to be git add, and then we're going to say git commit -m, and I could have added this all together with ma, but we'll go ahead and say changed Docker alias. And so we'll leave it at that. So now that that's been committed, let's go ahead and push these changes up to the GitHub repo. We'll put our username in here again, Travis P BONFIGLI. And then hopefully that's still going to be in, and you know what, I don't think it is because I've highlighted something else. So we'll pull it up again just to make sure. Let's grab that personal access token. Let's paste it in. Let's hit enter. All right, everything got pushed up. How can we confirm that? We go to our GitHub repo. We take a look. Let's do a quick refresh here. Let's go up to the sample app repo. Let's click refresh. And we should, oh, there we go, the 002. Sorry, I looked down here and I was like, wait a minute, an hour ago. Yeah, so 002, there it is. Let's double check. Yep, so that looks good. So now when we go back to our Jenkins build job, and it's interesting, there was a conflict, but the build job completed. And I would love to say that, oh, I had this all teed up ready to go to show you that this may happen. I did not. I did not anticipate that I was going to forget changing the Docker alias name that we were using there. All right, so this shows it succeeded. Let's go ahead and take a look at the console output. And there we go. Everything looks good. And let's go ahead and check and see if in fact, and this is the output, and the reason we're seeing all of this is the output of everything that we have running there right now. So I should be able to drop over to my AWS box. Let's back up and let's say ls-l. And there we go. Now we have this new job, build app job 002. If I were to cd into build app job 002, there are all of our files that got pulled down from the GitHub repo. Let's take a look at 002 sample-app.sh, and there we have it. Everything running on port 6060. So the final test is, let's go ahead, let's pull up our web browser. We're looking at sample app here. Let's check and see, is it running on 6060? So we'll pull back the 5050, and we'll change it to 6060. We hit enter, and take a look at that. It is absolutely 100% running on that port. All right, well now maybe we want to change it up from you are calling me from, we're going to add some text in here. We're going to get it to run on port 7070. So again, what would you do? We're using Jenkins, so I'm going to go off, I'm going to create a new freestyle job. How do we do that? Let's get into our Git repo here on the DEVASC virtual machine. We're going to get rid of that message right there. Okay, so I'm going to copy we're going to copy over 002. Whoops, sorry about that. So we'll say cp002, and we're going to copy that to 003-sample-app.sh. I'm going to hit enter. We're going to go VI on 003. And first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and come down here, because if I ran the job again, we would want to remove that directory, at least with the freestyle job that we're doing right now. There are other ways to do that in Jenkins. So all of that is going to be created. We're going to come down and look for 6060, and there it is. We're going to go ahead and change it to 7070. And once that happens there, I'm going to come down and find 6060 and then find it again and change it again. Now remember, sample app running 003 in this file here, right? We want to change that so that we don't have the conflicting aliases. We're going to save that file. Then we're going to pull up the sample_app, the Python file, right? The Python module that we have where Flask thinks it's running on 6060. We're going to say no, 7070. All right, so we've got all that done. Let's go ahead and say git status. We should see 2 files have been modified, 1 new file. So we'll say git add dot, and then git status. We're ready to commit these. So let's go with the git commit -m, and we'll say changed Docker port to 7070. All right. So we hit enter. Git status now is going to show me that everything is good to go. Let's go ahead and we're going to do that push, and it should be git remote push or git push origin master. We'll say Travis PBONFIGLI. Let's hope that the key is, or the personal access token is still in the buffer, and it is. Fantastic. We've pushed up to GitHub. How do we check that? We go to our private GitHub repo. We drop back here to the main repo. Let's do a quick refresh, although we should see, there it is, 003 sample-app.sh. When was it changed? Right now. What about the sample_app? That was just changed, or I should say committed right now. Change the Docker port to 7070. So here's where, if you're collaborating with people, you could see the comments and what people are doing. All right, well, if that's true, let's go back over here and let's burn a Jenkins job real quickly. So dashboard, new item. What's going to be? We're going to call it build app job 003 freestyle. We're going to click OK. We're going to fly on down here to Git. We're going to put our repo name in here, https github.com, Travis P. Bonfili /sample-app.get. We've got our credential in here already. It's going to get rid of that error message. We're going to fly down here. We're going to say, sure, add some timestamps. We're going to add a build script, which is going to be our bash wrapper /003-sample-app.sh. Whoops, got to be careful there. And we're going to click on save. And I'm going to click on build. We're ready to fire it up and build it. And here it goes. Take a look. Let's take a look at the build history, see what we've got, because we should see down here that we've got 3 containers that are now running, right? And it's basically pulling a Docker PS in order to generate this output right here. So here's what we've got running less than a second ago, 4 minutes ago, 22 minutes ago. All 3 containers are running on different ports. That way we can obviously access them from the internet. And you know what? I forgot to change the wording there, but we'll let that go and we'll say 7070. I hit enter, and that is the public IP it sees me coming from. So if you in your browser right now were to kick a tab open and type in 44.197.204.20 using the :5050, :6060, :7070, it's going to tell you what IP you're calling it from. So what are we going to do now? We've seen 3 different freestyle job creations here, right? Very cool, but we've had to manually test everything. And so what if we didn't want to have to manually test everything by pulling up that sample app web page? Well, let's go ahead and let's burn through a Jenkins job right here that is going to test. And we're not just going to test for one thing like we did in the lab. We are going to test all 3 of those web pages to see if they're working. So we're just going to call this test app job 00x, again, because we're testing everything. This is another freestyle project. We're going to click on OK, and we'll just call this test app job -00x. Now, I'm going to leave all of that blank. Source code management, we're not going to put anything in there, right? Because we're not using GitHub to do anything here. We're just using a locally configured script that is going to under the build triggers part here, build after these projects are built. Now remember, we only put 1 project in before, but I could stack this with build app job 001, build app job 002, build app job 003. So build after other projects are built. So when these projects are built, and the error here is going to go away because it was triggering on when I typed in B, it was like no project B, did you mean build app? So we've got that, so we're good. Then we're going to float down here. Sure, let's add timestamps. I love the verbose output. We'll continue down, build step. It's a shell script. Now I've already created the shell script, and here's what it's going to look like. I'll explain it to you as soon as we drop it in here. So this is a single if statement that is checking to see, and we're using the ampersand as kind of like the and, right? So if that curl command right there, and it's important here to remember, where is Jenkins running this? Well, it's running it from where Jenkins is installed. So I'm no longer checking, my test is not checking to see, oh, are you coming from the public IP from my house here, my Verizon Fios IP? It's checking the Jenkins, the Ubuntu Amazon EC2 instance public IP, which is where Jenkins is running, because Jenkins is running the job on that system. So if that curl command comes back with an exit status of 0, in other words, if this is true, and this is true, and this is true, so all 3 of these things need to be true in order for the test to succeed. But again, that's what we want our job to do. We're checking, is it running on 50-50, 60-60, and 70-70 all at the same time? Now, if it's not, we could put in here some different exit code. It doesn't have to be 1, right? That's a convention. But as I told you in the lab buildup, the exit code could be pretty much any conspicuous exit code other than 0 that would get us to think, oh, you know, hey, we've got a problem here. All right, well, that's it. That's our job. Let's save this. Let's go ahead and build now. In other words, let's run this. Off it goes. Take a look at that. We've got success. Let's see what that looks like from our console log output. And there it is. What's it testing? Hey, we're running these curl commands, checking to see, can we get there? We did. Can we get there? We did. Can we get there? We did. And so again, this is just a supplement to show you, hey, here's what Jenkins looks like when it's running in the Amazon cloud on an EC2 Ubuntu instance. Here's how we could create multiple web servers using that Python sample app buildup. and how we would push from our local Git repository up to GitHub, how we would check on those things, and then finally, how we could test everything. All right, well, hopefully this supplement kind of gives you some additional context around the Jenkins lab and what we were doing here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I hope to see you in the next video.